Broadcasting from the Meredith Hall Studios out of Carson City, Nevada, you're listening to Covering the Field with Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, and Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to Covering the Field. I'm Joe Ellison, and with me today are my incredible colleagues, Big Richard Martin and Gator Gates. Gentlemen, let's start with the results from the NFL's divisional playoff round. First up was Jacksonville at Kansas City, a game that the Chiefs won 27-20.
Yeah, Joe, Patrick Mahomes, he hobbled his way into another AFC championship. That is 5 in a row that they've been to the AFC championship. It's all at Arrowhead. Congratulations to all you season ticket holders, because you get another AFC championship game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, Jacksonville certainly had their chances to win that game, I thought. There was that, in the first half, that drop pass in field goal range. They ended up punting. There's also a 50-yard bomb that was dropped, like at the 10-yard line. That was another potential, at least a field goal. And then, of course, the one that everyone remembers, the fumble late with like 5 minutes left, where Jacksonville was ready to cut it down to 3 and possibly get the ball back, which they did eventually, and kick a field goal.
Right.
They certainly had their chances. But
well, being at the sportsbook, you guys, when Kansas City Holmes was hobbling off the field, everybody was coming up to the counter to hedge on those Jacksonville tickets. Mm-hmm. I would have to say that was you guys hold yourself there.
I think that somebody on the show picked Jacksonville to win money line.
I sure did, and I was happy as heck when I saw
when you saw him hobble off. I'm like,
sure, yeah.
The Gator gets it again. But he did suffer a high ankle sprain. I thought it was. I was relieved it wasn't his knee, because it could have been either one. The way he went down, on that lineman rolled him up on his back of his right ankle, and that was the second drive of the first quarter. And they were getting ready to go down and score another touchdown. They were moving the ball. They were hitting all cylinders. And then who do they bring in?
Chad Henne,
the 37-year-old backup, throws his first touchdown, playoff touchdown to Travis Kelce.
And that was great.
And that kind of shows you something about Kansas City's offense. Like, somebody goes down and it didn't seem like they missed the beat at all that drive.
Henne's a former Jaguar. He was drafted by the Jaguars.
Yeah, I thought that was great too, yes. Always great when you go.
So you're telling me you're taking Henne over Trevor Lawrence. Is that what we're trying to say?
No.
Oh, went to Michigan. Yes, he did.
Yes.
And, well, I think a key to the game might be, like, next time they play him, guard Travis Kelce, 14 catches and 2 touchdowns.
Excellent.
Why aren't these teams paying more attention to this guy? Double team him.
Well, then you're going to relieve very good coverage on the back. Pacheco ran the ball extremely well. He had 90 yards, averaging 7.9 yards a carry. I think Kansas City played a great game all in all. Jacksonville, give them some credit, man. I mean, they had a 6-game winning streak going in there, and they fought back. They showed some heart. But Trevor Lawrence, only in his second season, he had 25 touchdowns, and he had 5 rushing touchdowns. So that's 30 on the year, and he only had 8 interceptions. So if you're Jacksonville, you're thinking your future's pretty good right about now. You think your quarterback's coming in.
I want to go back to what Joe said about double covering Kelce. That leaves the running game open for him. Pacheco. So yeah,
I would.
I'm all for
the one guy. The one guy I'm not. Letting beat me is Kelce. So if they
you'd rather be beaten on the run.
Just little runs here, run here. Eventually, maybe you stop them once or twice.
Okay.
I think Andy Reid would invite double coverage on Kelce, because he would love to have his running game open up, or maybe get some really good coverage with some of his receivers out there. Devontae had a touchdown. Scandal had a touchdown also in the second half. So,
and I'm with Big Richard on that. That's why they don't do it.
Well, I guess.
And that's why you do it.
Joe says you have to do something.
Right, but you have to put your best. You have to put your best guy on that.
What would Bill Belichick do?
Well, Bill Belichick hasn't played in a championship game in a while, since he did beat Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes. That was the one.
Yeah, but so a few mistakes by Jacksonville. They'll be back next year in the playoffs. I'm sure they can correct
building.
Just building up. So next up Saturday was a divisional battle with the New York Giants losing at Philadelphia 38-7.
Giants didn't show up, Joe.
What a disappointing
it was
performance.
Disappointing. It really was.
I mean, what a after such a good first game, we all had our high hopes. Everybody, I think there was, I think it was like over 57 or 60% of the people, the money line took the points, and I think every analyst took the points, including this one. And
I think we all took the Giants.
Everybody loved the Giants. And then you know what happens? Daniel Jones happens. That's right. Daniel, I don't have Daniel Jones. He was 15 for 27 with 135 yards with 0 touchdowns.
But you gotta admit that first half didn't like the Giants didn't even want to be there.
28-0 at halftime.
Yeah, they didn't even want to be there. They weren't even trying.
That game was done.
It was sad. It was really sad.
It was a disappointing Saturday night for NFL watchers. That's for
the
sure.
Eagles could do whatever they want. I believe they rushed for like 260.
268 yards.
Unbelievable.
And they had Sanders ran for I want to say 80 or 90 yards. They had 2 running backs for 200 yards, and then even Scott, their third running back, had 30 yards, and Jalen Hurts had 30 yards. So 268 yards on the ground, like we called them before, the Philadelphia Turkeys that don't need to fly. When you got a running game running that good, I think it'll be different next week against the 49ers.
Well, we'll get into that in a while. We can talk about last Sunday. Started with Cincinnati at Buffalo. And the Bengals won 27-10. How about that?
Well, Joe Cool Burrow, he does it again with a profound performance, outstaging everybody's Super Bowl favorite, Buffalo Bills, and just looked like they were they were the better team. I mean, they're rolling in. I mean, Joe Burrow's first 2 drives was 9 for 9. I mean, you can't play much better than that. They get down the field twice. They should have had a third touchdown called back. They got a field goal on that. They should have been a touchdown. He had the ball, caught the ball, and then he kind of bobbled it on the way out. I mean, if it crosses
the phone call was made. Let's keep this game a little closer. You can't have it get too out of hand. We might lose some viewers.
Well, I'm telling you, yeah, exactly. And then you have the Cincinnati White Tigers in their white uniforms blending in. I think that looked really good.
With the snow.
Everybody
loves the snow games.
Well, obviously Buffalo doesn't, and that was your home team. Disappointing for Buffalo fans again and again for these guys.
But what a great season you got. I wouldn't take anything away from Buffalo. I mean, they only lost like 5 games the whole year. Man. So they
would have lost 6 if they had played that Monday night game. Cincinnati was doing to them Sunday what they were going to do on that Monday night game. They got canceled.
Too. They had that emotional roller coaster with the DeMar Hamlin story. Yes. That can be an excuse, but But the Bengals, let's just say they don't get any respect. They were getting 6 points at Buffalo, even when they were up 17-7. They were getting 7 more at halftime.
Wow!
I jumped all over that. So I got the Bengals twice. Probably the only game I got right all weekend. But
tough for us bettors this weekend for sure in these games. What about talking about being disrespected? Don't you think Stephon Diggs disrespected Josh Allen on the sideline when they're saying like, "Why can't you throw it to me?" I mean, he had that one that was a wide open pass in the first half.
But you don't do that to your quarterback.
You don't do that to your franchise quarterback.
Give me the damn ball.
Yeah, he wants.
Well, you don't show him up. You might ask, how come you're not giving me the ball? But you don't show him up. You don't show him up.
Well, he did.
He did. It was emotional.
Maybe that's why he's no longer on the Minnesota Vikings anymore because of his attitude.
Good point, Joe.
You think that's the reason they kicked him out of Minnesota because he was yelling at Kirk Cousins?
It could be.
Anybody who's quarterback.
I'm telling you right now, if your team, you can have Josh Allen. There's not many quarterbacks better than Josh Allen in the NFL. So there's maybe 3 teams at the most.
He'd probably be my first pick in fantasy football. Would be Josh Allen with the running ability.
Yes,
I agree.
And he did, and he ran. I mean, Josh Allen, he had 26 yards rushing. That led the team, and I think that shows you
they
the
don't
answer.
have an offensive line. They have to go out and get that offensive line a lot better. They need to run. They can't just lay it all on.
Did it seem to you guys that it seemed like they weren't adjusting to the snow as well? Exactly. I mean, maybe the cleats or something like that. They were just making the plays. Cincinnati looked, like I said, 9 for 9, had no problem.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the footing. I don't know. You playing Buffalo, you should have the home field advantage on that, playing in that type of weather all year long. But Cincinnati, gets cold and snowy there also.
Yes, it does. And of course, the weekend finished with Dallas at San Francisco. And the 49ers ended up with a 19-12 victory. What do you say there?
Man, I'm telling you, San Francisco does it again with their defense. What an old school defensive battle. That just reminded me of the old 70s and early 80s defensive battles.
The funnest game to watch, I thought.
And Brock with his big arm. Purdy looked very posed under pressure, and I thought that Dak Prescott didn't look as posed as he threw 2 interceptions. And the reason I made the pick for Dallas is I thought that when you put pressure on him, which I knew Dallas was going to be able to put pressure on him with 4, and he seemed to play well enough to get it done. I think that throw to Kittle across the middle where he bobbled it, and the free safety he had at the time, he could have really knocked his block off. And I think that
was a corner, actually.
Corner.
Oh, yeah.
On Diggs.
Okay,
So he made a business decision.
Well, I don't know if that was a business decision. I think it was like it was a defensive player for sure. He would have got tagged for a 15-yard penalty for drilling him, right?
You could have knocked the ball loose.
I know.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying, but I think that he didn't want to do that. But I mean, if you can take Kittle out, if he makes the hit on him because he was bobbling, you could have knocked that ball out. And I thought that was one of the deciding factors of the game, really, right there. And when Stephon Diggs missed the interception, and dropped it, and him and his brother needed to catch it.
Well, me being a Dallas fan, I watched that game very closely. I do want to talk about, for the Cowboy fans, defend the Cowboys a little bit. They did start the game behind the 8 ball. The week before, San Francisco finished its game at home against Seattle around 4:30 Saturday. Dallas finished its game at Tampa Bay around 8:30 p.m. Monday. That's 52 extra hours of recovery from a football game. That's big. Plus, the Cowboys had to travel back to Dallas and then to San Francisco while the 49ers were sleeping in their own beds.
That's what I guess
you're telling me with
games,
Dak Prescott with all of his sleep commercials, he got plenty of sleep. I remember one of those commercials, he's taking a nap. The only guy I know gets paid to take a nap.
I guess they should have won a couple more games, Joe.
Had Green Bay beat Detroit in Week 18, made the playoffs, maybe that Packer game would have been the Monday night game.
Maybe.
Just saying.
Maybe.
Tampa would have played Dallas on Saturday. I think that would have made a big difference. During the game, there were a couple officiating issues that
a lot
helped dictate the outcome. You talked about that George Kittle great juggling catch on 3rd down. Everybody's seen that. But fullback Kyle Juszczyk was lined up outside of him on the offensive line on that play. Kittle should have been flagged as an ineligible receiver, and they go on to score on that drive.
Yeah, they scored a field goal, Joe. Then
there was another 3rd down where the Niners led clearly short of the 1st down. There's an injury, so they go to a commercial. I kept waiting for the replay. I never got it. It's called a 1st down. The Niners go drive another 30 yards and score again.
Well, I think the biggest part of that game was the kicking game. I really think that Maurer played a big factor in that game, not being able to missing his first extra point again. It was blocked.
It
was going out, Joe. There was no way.
He has a big slice on his kick.
He would need the biggest slice.
He has to aim left, and it slices into the middle. He would have made that.
He would not have made that. That was a terrible extra point. It's in his head, and that was some of the decision making of why going for 4th and 4, even though they got it. If they were able to kick that field goal from 52 yards, like any NFL kicker should be able to make a 52 at a good 80%, they would have been up 3 instead of down 3 at the half.
Well, I will say the biggest factor in the game was running back Tony Pollard getting hurt. He was their most explosive running back,
yes.
The one that was going to go run on the outside where the Niners can be exploited at times. And once he went out of the game, Dallas never scored another touchdown.
Right.
So that was a big loss.
And he is also up for free agency this year.
Well, they'll sign him.
They have Zeke. He's up for free agency. Schultz, they put the franchise tag. He can be up for free agency. And Van Der Esch, who is actually probably their most improved player and the one that can stop the run at linebacker from Boise State.
A bit injury prone, though.
Right. But they need to address their kicker for sure. I mean, that's the
Zeke's going to have to take a huge pay cut if he wants to stay with Dallas.
He's not staying with Dallas.
He probably isn't.
He isn't probably. What about CeeDee Lamb, though? 10 catches, 117 yards. I mean, he seemed like he balled out for sure.
And nobody else seemed to be able to catch a ball except for Schultz's touchdown. It seemed like all the other receivers were non-existent. It was terrible.
Well, just another disappointing ending for a Dallas fan again this year.
I will say they are still up 5-4 over San Francisco in playoff meetings. That's a nice consolation.
Okay,
that's
all going back to the 80s. With Jerry Rice and Aikman.
But anyway, so there was some interesting betting action going on in that game, wasn't there, Gator?
Yeah, well, like you guys said, Dallas' kicker missed 4 extra points last week, so the Superbook had a line on Brett he would miss an extra point. And the yes at the opening, Joe, was 5-1.
Wow.
Now the bettors, they dropped it down to 3-1. And John Murray, the executive director for Superbook, he said that all they took was yes tickets. They didn't take any no tickets. So, Joe.
So the books, the books lost out and the bettors won on that one.
Another news is that Mattress Mac had $2 million riding on the Cowboys and offered any customer that spent $3,000 or more in his gallery that if the Cowboys won, you'd get your money back.
Well, yeah, he was on the right side. It was Fox and the league, man. They wanted San Francisco to win.
So you tell me Dak Prescott's got to get his free mattress now that that says he cost him the game.
No, he
gets no mattress.
He gets no mattress. Sleeping on the couch. Sleeping on the couch,
Dak.
Okay. Well, how about that? Did you notice something about the totals last week? Is it possible?
Every one of them went under, Joe. Every one of them.
And we tell people to lean toward the underdogs and the unders. But
it's just so hard to do that, Joe. How can I root for a defensive side?
You better start if you want to start winning. 2 favorites and 2 underdogs covered. And yes, all 4 went under. So looking forward to the conference championship games. During the last 10 years, home teams in both the AFC and NFC are 7-3 straight up. In the last 5 seasons, favorites and underdogs have split 5-5 straight up, but underdogs are 7-3 against the spread. You have some more stats? Did you have?
Oh well, I mean, 69% of the people right now are, if you look in the betting, are betting on Philly to cover that 2.5. So it's 2.5. It's 46. 69% of the bets right now are on Philly. They don't think that. That performance they put on the Giants, I think.
Very impressive.
The eye candy's on that, and that game should have went over if Daniel Jones could have completed maybe 4 or 5 passes. But
that could be possibly a You Got Host.
That could possibly be leading into a You Got Host.
Yes, it could. We'll find out later.
Okay, but also looking into this, let's ride the hot hands, don't you think? San Francisco, they're riding a 12-game winning streak. And that's 8 in a row for Brock. And, he looks rock solid to me. Philadelphia, they look like the team of September, October, that when they came out, that 10 straight wins. And we got to go over some injuries, Joe. I think let's go over the injury report.
Okay.
We have McCaffrey. He has a calf injury. He's questionable. And you also have the cornerback, Avante Maddo, has a toe injury. He's
for Philly.
For Philly, and A.J. Brown has a hip injury. He's questionable. And Elijah Mitchell for San Francisco has a groin injury. And Charles, the defense in Imanoa, has an oblique injury. He's questionable.
Okay.
So some things to look into as you make your
McCaffrey
waiters.
And Brown, the biggest injuries on that
I think
list.
so too. And the backup, Elijah Mitchell,
Right.
So it definitely plays. Debo Sanders going to play running back, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, looking at next week, the first game Sunday is San Francisco at Philadelphia. I thought it would be the other way around, but Frisco fans are going to have to play the early game.
Yeah, but I think they'll go with the East Coast home team will play first. So that's kind of how they made their decision, I think. But the games I'm looking at is the games that Philly lost, and they lost to Washington 21-30 on Monday night. And recently they lost to that overpowering offense, Dallas Cowboys, 34-40. I think that kind of leans into my decision on, I'm going to say Robbie Gould wins it with a field goal. I'm going to take the money line, and I'm going to say Robbie Gould gets it done in Philly. And I'm also like the first half under 23.
Okay.
It's raining, and I think it's going to be in the 40s or 50s.
It's going to be raining.
That's what the prediction is right now, but still a little bit away.
Okay.
For rain.
So Gator.
Okay. Well, when I'm looking at this game, I'm looking at the defenses. Which defense is going to show up? Obviously, San Francisco is going to have to stop the running game.
Yes.
Philadelphia is just going to have to stop the dunks. Purdy likes to do that dunking. Nothing pretty. Just so if Philly starts stopping that, is that going to open up things and we actually see Purdy actually throw those long balls? That's what I'm hoping for. But who knows? Philly's defense is great, but I do think San Francisco's defense is a little better. I'm going with them. They have a better team. I'm taking the points. Actually, I'm taking the money line. They're going to win.
It's 122 for the money line. So if you don't want those
122.
two,
Can we get more precise now?
Yeah,
122.
plus 122 for the
122 and a half.
So is it worth the 2 points, the extra $20? I don't know if it is. I mean, if you bet about 100, you get an extra $20. That'd be, I think, maybe better off taking the points. But I think they're going to win outright. And what you just said there, Gator, that the number one defense in the league is
San Francisco.
and the number 3 is Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So,
but I think the offenses are kind of equal. I think it's kind of a wash. They're both different. They're different styles, different ways, so it's kind of hard to. So I'm looking at the defense.
So if they can stop the run, if you can stop the run, you get those
That's what
decent
I'm
120 yards or less. I think that'll be the number we look at if you keep Philadelphia under 120 yards rushing.
Exactly.
You probably have a good chance of winning.
Well, there are some statistics that point to both teams, but the stat that jumps out the most to me is that rookie quarterbacks are 0-4 straight up in conference championship games.
Unless they're playing Dallas.
In those, they're not playing Dallas this week.
Okay.
How about that? In those games, rookies have thrown 4 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Those 4 quarterbacks, Sean King, Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Flacco, and Mark Sanchez. Coincidentally, the last
One Hall of Famer in that whole pick there. I'll give you Big Ben, but okay.
I don't think Brock Purdy's going to the Hall of Fame.
Well, if he's going the first
You
year,
don't
we
know
can
that
continue.
yet. He's on his
Tom,
way.
Tom Brady wasn't going either in his
He's on
first
his
year,
way.
right?
Joe Flacco might make it eventually.
Okay.
All right.
Who's he?
Okay. Coincidentally, the last 5 Eagle and last 7 49er playoff games have all gone under.
Mhm.
Is that amazing?
That is amazing, but yeah.
So-
Under 46.
I like Philadelphia and under.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with it. I'm counting on both defenses showing up.
I think you can for sure see San Francisco's defense show up.
In the second game, Cincinnati is favored by 1 at Kansas City, and the total is 47. Gator, that line comes with a story, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does, Joe. Well, on Sunday in the fourth quarter of the Bills-Bengals game, this Superbook put up an early line on the Kansas City-Cincinnati game. They put the spread at Kansas City -3. Well, John Murray, again the executive director, said that it was a bad opening line. Within 30 minutes, the line switched to the Bengals favored by -1. 4 points, guys. That's a 4-point
Well, is that because
spread.
of the injury? Is it the injury you think, man? I think that's the reason the spread. That's why they're a home dog. I think it has to go to Patrick Mahomes' ankle.
After having the lineup for 2 hours, Mr. Murray said that they only took 1 bet on Kansas City after 2 hours of having that lineup. So eventually the line did move back to Kansas City -1 before Monday morning started. But, you guys, I believe that was the public. There might have been a little bit of smart money going there, but I think the public just jumped on that. I'm really interested to see when the smart money comes in. I'm guessing on Saturday where that line's going to move.
Well, I think
to.
everybody's looking at that ankle, right? Has there been any tape of Patrick Mahomes on practicing? I haven't seen any. So I'm
Very
pretty
good
sure.
question.
I mean, I want to see how that
Good
ankle's
question.
doing.
Personally,
Yes.
I think they're just looking at Cincinnati being the better team, but that's just me. And but Big Rich, I'm going to ask you, what do you like in that game?
Well, like we said, AFC, home of the AFC Championship. All AFC Championship games are playing in Kansas City nowadays, right? I mean, 5 in a row.
The Kansas
And
City
they're 2
Bowl.
and 2.
Kansas City Bowl.
They're 2 and 2. They won 2 and lost 2. So
Yeah.
here's this one. And I wanted you guys, I'm going to say last week was Knox, sink or swim, had the most yards receiving for Buffalo.
Buffalo, Dawson Knox had the most yards, even more than Stephon Diggs. Oh gosh, I guess I'd have to believe it since you brought it up. I'm going to say swim on that one.
Yes, Knox had the most yards receiving.
That's amazing.
So what position does he play, Gator?
Tight
Tight end, yeah, it was the same. So let's talk about the tight end for Travis Kelce. He had 14 receptions and 2 touchdowns, and I'm telling you, if I have my fantasy pick, I'm taking Kelce way before there's not even
That's
close
because
to it.
of their offensive line, Big Richard.
I
They
know.
need to do something with
I'm
their
telling you,
offensive line this year.
Cincinnati is susceptible to the tight end.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you, if Knox does it, I guarantee what Travis Kelce's going to do. And Isaiah Pacheco, like I told you, had 95 yards rushing,
Yeah.
averaging 7.9. So they are
Yeah.
running the rock good. But what was on the other side? What?
Nothing.
We got Joe and Joe in the snow. We got Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. Okay, let's see what they did.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe Mixon had 105 yards and a touchdown last week. Okay, so and Joe Burrow's just so cool under any kind of pressure. I mean, how do you go? I bet on Joe in the snow. I bet Joe in the rain. I bet Joe in the sunshine. We'll go to week 10. Well, week 10, Kansas City was at Cincinnati, 27-24. That's week 13. But that was in Cincinnati. Yes, Cincinnati won that game. Cincinnati is riding, what is it, 10-game win streak or 9-game win streak?
Something like that. Correct.
So, what does it come down to? Like Alice said, she is calling it a K&K Super Bowl, Kittle and Kelsey.
Oh.
I'm saying there's going to be a Mahomes miracle in Arrowhead. He's going to rise that ankle from the dead. He's going to get it done. I don't see Patrick Mahomes losing 3 times. I think Kansas City gets it done. I want my heart is with Cincinnati, but I don't see Mahomes losing 3 in a row.
Okay. And Gator, what do you got going on that one?
10-game winning streak. That's
10-game
right.
winning streak, yes. Gator, what do you think?
I like Kansas City at home because they're a home dog. Plain and simple. It's a coin toss.
Gator Lickets. It's Gator Lickets.
Here's another thing, you guys. Isn't this week the better games than the Super Bowl on an average enduring history?
Yes,
These are the ones that these 2 games are the must watch, the hardest ones to bet, right? Because they're always.
Look at the spreads. The spreads are within under 3 on both of them. So obviously we got to. According to the betting odds, we're going to have a field goal.
Okay,
game.
so what's that stat that Cincinnati is beating Kansas City 4 times, 5 times? I don't know exactly the stat, but it's something like that. Those stats don't go forever. Kansas City is the dog. The books like Kansas City at -3. The Superbook did, like I just said. So I'm going to go Kansas City, even money. It's going to be San Francisco, Kansas City Super Bowl.
You're with Alice. You're like Alice, the owner of the Why Not. She's saying it's a K&K. They have the battle of the tight ends, the 2 best tight ends in the league.
Okay. Now it's my turn. You wanted some statistics. Although the Chiefs are 8-1 at home, they are 8-1 against the spread at home this year in their last 10.
So you're telling me we're going to lose by half a point?
They're going to lose.
They're going to win by half a point, is what you're going to say.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just saying against the
But
spread.
you're probably right. I would take that. I'll take that action. Half a point.
The Bengals are 14-4 against the spread, while the Chiefs are 7-11 this year. Cincy 16-3 against the spread on their road in their last 19 games. They're amazing on the road. They have beat the Chiefs 8 out of the last 10 times and covered 7 of those. But most importantly, Joe Burrow.
Joe
He's
in the
beaten
snow.
3 straight times. All 3 times he played them. The last 2 by scores of 27-24, including the championship game last year. And factoring in that high ankle sprain for Mahomes, I'm taking Cincinnati -1.5.
Well, I don't think the spread's a factor. If it's 1.5, I mean, I don't think you can throw those against the spread.
Well, let's see what it
ATS,
is.
but it's
The better team's going to win.
It's going to be
Whoever
it's
wants
going to. I don't see it being a 1-point game, but I do like what you say about Mahomes' ankle injury. I mean, you have to look at that, and you have to look at.
He loves to run outside the pocket and throw it, or even run it.
Quick release. Quick release. He doesn't. He gets the
But
ball
you
out.
guys, he has that basketball throwing, sidearm, over his shoulder, behind his back.
Well,
He'll get it to a receiver.
It's going to be
somehow.
harder to do that from the middle of the pocket.
He doesn't need his feet. He just needs his arm.
Well, we need to thank Butch 3-Man Roberts for those statistics, and we have made Super Bowl predictions, but what's an interesting thing about the current Super Bowl odds?
Well, according to Sports Betting Archive, and I quote sportsoddshistory.com, unquote, first time in the last 45 seasons that the Super Bowl favorite has had odds bigger than +2.
Right. All 4 teams are more than 2-1 right now, so you can get decent odds.
Yeah, I don't know any of them.
Philly and Kansas City +260, Cincinnati +275, the Niners the longest shot at +285, and so Big Rich, your Super Bowl prediction is Kansas City,
San Francisco.
Kansas City to beat San Francisco, or the other way around?
Well, we'll have to see how that ankle looks out. But if I had to do it, I would probably take
You got to do it.
Kansas City.
Kansas City to beat San Francisco, and you, Gator?
Oh, I'm taking San Francisco.
Okay, and to beat?
Oh, Kansas City.
Okay, and I've got Cincinnati beating Philadelphia. So I think we pretty much covered everything now.
So we don't know what,
But
we don't have a unanimous decision this year. We're definitely
but
in
it shows
different things.
with odds such as they are, we're in basically the same boat.
Right.
But
We
around
know we're going to have good games. I think
around
that's
week
what
or 12, I pretty much identified Cincinnati as the best team. I got to stick with them.
I like it. And my Uncle Mike's got him he took him to win the Super Bowl at 20-1 odds. So that would be a good $1,500 payday for him if he can hit that. So they win 1,000 plus he gets the 11-1 to make it to the Super Bowl. So if I was $1,500, so
Right on.
he is definitely going to be wearing his Bengals and eating a bunch of Tony the Tigers before the game.
Well, at week 12, I got 12-1. So
That's
not
really
too,
good, man.
Not too bad.
That's still good.
Now it's feeling good. So moving on, Gator. Are there any big stories from the National Hockey League?
Well, Joe, Friday, Pittsburgh hosted Ottawa, and this was the first time that the brothers Pio, which is Pierre Oliver Joseph, for Pittsburgh, and Matthew Joseph played against each other. Matthew plays for Ottawa. Now, neither brother received a point in the game, Joe, and Pittsburgh won 4-1, but both brothers received coincidental high sticking penalties. Now, Pio Joe said that his brother probably didn't deserve a high sticking penalty because he thinks he high sticked himself.
So they high sticked each other, the brothers.
Exactly, but this isn't the first time that the
brothers
brothers received penalties against each other.
Probably did it their whole lives.
Well, in 1997, Keith and Wayne Premu got into a fight, and that was a Buffalo Hartford game.
Oh,
you
they
guys
fought each
remember
other.
exactly.
Nice.
And in 1992, Brent and Rich Sutter each got roughing calls in a game between Chicago and St. Louis.
Not the first time yet.
But I think if I remember correctly, Joe, I think the Sutter brothers grew up where they couldn't fight because there was like 7 of them, and I think their parents were really strict on fighting. So I think that's why they only got roughing penalties instead of fighting penalties.
Yeah, so their mom used to put them in timeout longer than 2 minutes, I'm sure, when they were kids, for sticking each other.
I can't hit you. Let's just dance.
Well, we also had another coach get fired.
Oh, yeah.
In Vancouver, Bruce Boudreau. He's been around a while.
Yeah, he's not. They're on my not list.
Okay.
Sure.
Rick Tocchet got hired. That's the same Rick Tocchet that was assistant coach for Wayne Gretzky down in Arizona. Started his own little sports book and got busted. That's
You're right, Joe. You're right, Joe.
Why is it in Phoenix? Is that like the new Sin City? What did the Suns coach got for inappropriate relationships or something? He's out a year suspension. What's going on in Phoenix? You're the new Vegas.
Gretzky, the only reason he took that job is so he could play golf every day. He was never going to be a good head coach.
Does like his golf, you're right.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
My Bruins got their first win in Canada yesterday.
Yeah.
As amazing as the Bruins have been.
Oh, amazing, Joe.
What do they have, 4 or 5 losses? That's it all year?
They're like 4-1 now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're going down. And, but they hadn't won a game in Canada.
They're on my hot list, Joe.
Okay, well, tell us who is hot.
Okay, well, I got Boston at 10-1 in their last 11 and 6-0 in their last 6.
That's hot.
That's boiling hot.
Colorado and Edmonton, they're both 6-0. About time Colorado.
I know. Well, you had them on their not list, the naughty list, there 2 weeks ago. Now they're back. They flipped the script. They are definitely a good team.
And Carolina got at 4-1.
Okay.
The not so hot list is the Islanders, which is really sad, 0-5. Not exactly sure what's going on. I wish I had more on that, but I don't. San Jose, 1-6.
Well, that's an ongoing theme.
Yeah, that's normal with them. But here's the shocker.
They're not rebuilding, though. They're not rebuilding. They're gonna go. What's the odds on them making it to the Stanley Cup?
No, they're
over 100.
Yeah, they're pretty much out. Now here's the shocker. Vegas is up there at the top of the Pacific, and they're 1-5 right now.
Real bad stretch.
And like you were talking about Vancouver, they are. They shouldn't even be 2-7. I'm shocked they're 2-7 in their last 9. But they're playing really horrible, very horrible.
Maybe this coaching change can inspire some victory.
I don't see Anaheim on that not list.
Yeah, because I'm glad you brought that up because you're exactly right. Anaheim has been really terrible, but I didn't put them on there because they've been 1-1 in their last 2, but they were 2-6 in their last 8.
They're probably
so they're real close.
Yeah,
they were real close.
They're on the bubble.
They're on the bubble.
Okay, so Gator, your picks went 6-4 last week. It puts you now at still 69%, 106 and 48 for the season. 69%. What are
Okay.
your predictions for next week?
Okay, Joe. Well, I have a 3 on Thursday. I have St. Louis is going to be at Arizona. I like St. Louis.
Right?
I have Calgary over Chicago,
Sure.
and I have Colorado over Anaheim.
Okay.
That's going to be in Colorado. Friday, I have 2 games. I have Carolina over San Jose. That's in Carolina.
Okay.
Toronto over Ottawa. Toronto's great. I should have had them on my hot list, but they just missed it. Saturday, I have 3 games, Joe. I have Pittsburgh over San Jose.
Poor San Jose.
And it makes my job a little easier, Joe.
Sometimes they lace up the skates. Gator's going against them.
Edmonton over Chicago. And Big Richard, don't have a heart attack on this one, but Anaheim over Arizona.
All right.
In Anaheim.
Ducks fly together.
Monday, I have 1 game, Winnipeg over St. Louis. And I have another one that you guys are going to flip on. Tuesday, I have Montreal beating Ottawa in Montreal.
Okay.
You might get good odds on that, by the way. You might.
All right. Another 10 picks this week. Good luck with those, Gator.
Thank you.
Big Rich, are there any big stories from the National Basketball Association?
Well, Jonas is back from his injury and
From Milwaukee.
From Milwaukee and Middleton both.
Oh.
So both of them came back. They've been 6-4 in their last 10. So they are playing better. But they did have a dominant, I think it was like a 20-point win just last when they both came back together. So I like the way that they're going to trend upward. I mean, I'm going to probably bet Milwaukee this week. I think they got the Lakers. That's always a win. So also you got Boston. They're 8-2. Unfortunately, one of those two, big rich when they were going against the Orlando Magic, who's on the not list, 2-8. And how do they beat Boston? I don't know, but it happened when I bet on them. Thanks a lot, Boston. All right, so we also have 76ers. They're rolling at 8-2. In Miami, 7-3. So we're starting to see the cream rise to the top on the East. Cleveland's faltering a little bit. They're 4-6. Still got a good story out there. Since LeBron's left, they haven't had much to cheer for, but it seems now they're doing a lot better. Let's go to the West. The Nuggets, 9-1. Amazing. They're playing really good with Jonovich. They had a 1-point victory last night, and the Kings are 7-3.
That's amazing.
So, and I tell you, Keegan Murray, their producer. Keegan Murray is, he's averaging 12.3 points a game. So he's the All-American from Iowa with his twin brother playing in Iowa right now. He's shooting a whopping 42% from the 3-point line, 42.1 line to 45 from the field. So great first pick from the Kings. I think it's definitely helped them.
Yeah.
And you could probably get some pretty good odds on them right now. I think it's either going to be that. You got the Kings, Nuggets, and you got Memphis. They're on a 3-game losing streak right now. After having an 11-game winning streak, they had a tough road battle. They got beat by the Lakers and the Kings. And Dallas is 3-7 in their last 10. So stay away from the Mavericks right now.
Stay away from that. Okay. Well, the Kings are 60-1 to win it all.
Wow.
Can they possibly do it? Or maybe you can hedge that down the road, because they're certainly going to make the playoffs.
Maybe.
Yeah, they're certainly. I mean, the way it looks right now, maybe get anybody in the West. I mean, it's not as powerful as the East for sure.
Right.
You have, you have three or four really good teams. Memphis, I still like Memphis. John Moran, I think he's tough. And Pelicans, you got Zion Williams out there. So tough to pick. Injury prone, yeah. But I think the Nuggets right now, I mean, that would be your team to take if you were going to say to go. So they start calling Denver Title Town if they can hit it again.
Okay.
So that's what I got for the NBA.
All right. So what's happening in college basketball?
Well, Houston gets beat by Temple. I mean, they're usually thumping people by 20 points a game.
At home.
At home. They lost a tough one to Temple. So the boys from Philly came down there and showed those guys that, hey, Houston, you're not as good as you think you are. They move all the way down to 3. Our team, Purdue, who's my pick, moved back to number 1.
Okay.
And Alabama is number 2. They said they have Brandon Miller out there as a straight 18-year-old stud. Watch him, bet him. They usually cover the spread. Tennessee moves up 5 to number 4. And K-State moved up 10, but they did lose last night to Iowa State, so I don't see them dropping again. But Tennessee had some pretty good wins of why they moved up. They won at Mississippi State and LSU. So Volunteers are playing good out there, and we have our Virginia moved all the way up to 6. So they were 1-2, and they lost 3 in a row. Now they're back to 6, so they're playing a lot better out there in Virginia. And we have our SEC Big 12 Battle Challenge coming up Saturday.
Yes.
So that's going to be some good games you can watch. You get Kansas at Kentucky. That's the premier game. That'll be the night game Saturday night as we all wait for the NFL in the morning.
Something to hold us over.
Something to hold us over. You get some good odds.
Yeah.
Right? Kansas took a thumping last night, and they were on a 2-game losing streak. So
Wouldn't you say though that the Big 12 would have to be considered the best overall conference right now? At this point?
I think that it's so. I mean, let's look at this week and see how they see how they do. I think TCU is definitely playing great. They, like I said, they just beat Kansas. They're not getting a lot of respect out there. Like nobody in Texas Christian University gets any respect, maybe ever in any sport. But I would have to say, I just really like Alabama. I like Alabama, and I really like Purdue. I think and Houston is definitely so athletic. They're NBA, but you say you have those games and you have those hiccups. I mean, they have the softest schedule, being until they go to the Big 12 next year.
Right. They're in a weaker conference, no doubt. Okay, well, Gator.
Yeah.
Tennis's first major, the Australian Open, is winding down this weekend.
Boy, we sure had a lot of upsets.
I was going to say what's been the big stories, but yeah, upsets for sure. In fact, in the Open era, which began in 1968, we've always had, at least one of the top 2 seeds make the quarterfinals, but not at this tournament.
No.
None of the top 2 seeds, men or women, made it to the quarterfinals. That just shows you how wide open it's been.
I think this is the first time Eva hasn't been there since we've been doing the show, Joe.
I think she got beat. She was my pick. Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
A bigger story here in America, the U.S. men.
Mm-hmm.
What a resurgence. It's pretty amazing.
But Taylor
won in the semifinals, and we had 3 in the quarterfinals.
Was that Wolf? Is Wolf one of them? Or did he get knocked? Wolf made it?
Well, the one that made it is, let's see here. It's I forgot which one. There were so many of them. Tommy Paul was the one that made it.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But my guy Tyler Fritz, he went out on Wednesday.
And Tiafoe went out.
Yeah.
Those were the guys that were supposed to be in the semis.
Medvedev went out on Friday.
A lot of upsets. Yeah. So on the men's side, we've got
crazy.
Yeah, we got 4 guys left. Tommy Paul, unfortunately, is running into Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, you gotta take Novak.
Well, what about Novak? Did you see where they had a Where's the Waldo guy out there just heckling him?
Oh yeah.
And he was so mad he went and told the head judge, saying he doesn't even care about the game. He's just giving me cuss words, and I'm like, my goodness, play tennis, dude. You're the number 1 player in the world. I mean, people are going to heckle you.
Yeah, we're expecting more heckling because of last year for not being able to come to the Australian Open because he wouldn't get vaccinated. So that guy has not forgiven Novak for not getting vaccinated.
So you think that was what his motive was for?
He had planned on heckling him for about a year now.
Yeah. Okay, well, he had a bunch of ammunition for sure. He had a whole year's worth of waiting to see him come down there.
But you're right, Joe.
It was funny to see
the
him
fans
cry.
have been very nice, actually.
Most of them
have, yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
And on the other end, Karen Kachanov, Russian against Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Yes.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Tsitsipas.
Yes. Well, Djokovic is a 9-time champion at this event. So the reason I didn't pick him is because his leg was injured in the tournament coming in. Well, his leg looks pretty good right now, and he says it feels good. He's taking lots of anti-inflammatories, he says.
So you don't think Tsitsipas has a chance?
I got to pick one upset, right?
Well,
I'm thinking Kachanov can beat Tsitsipas.
Oh, I'll take Tsitsipas.
I know, but I get 2-1 with Kachanov. I knew you would take Tsitsipas, and yeah.
Well, I like him, Joe. I love the way he plays. Seriously,
no, that's going to be a great match.
Yeah, I really do.
Djokovic should pretty much steamroll Tommy Paul.
You would think.
Yes. So I'm going to pick in the final. I guess I'm going to pick Djokovic over Kachanov, and I guess you're going Djokovic over Tsitsipas.
You have to, yeah. But in my heart, I'm going to root for the underdog.
Okay.
Sure.
On the women's side, it's Arina Sabalenka against Magda Linette, the 31-year-old Pole. Nobody expected her.
No.
She was at least 100-1 before the tournament started. And Elena Rybakina against Victoria Azarenka. Got any picks there? Have you been watching the women's side?
Well, no, not since all the women have been out, Joe. I mean, all of my favorite ones that I like to watch, so not really. But if you look at these odds, Joe, they're really close, no? I mean, you got a -305, but
Sabalenka, she's a beast. Lynette not supposed to be here at all. I think pretty much she rolls over Lynette. Azarenka.
So you think the other one you have a better shot at taking the underdog?
I think you got a really good match on the other side. Azarenka is an amazing story. She won the Australian Open in 2012 and 13. And here we are, 9 years later, and she's in the semis. It's just amazing. But Rybakina, she won Wimbledon last year, and she beat my pick, Iga Swiatek. I got to go with Sabalenka and Rybakina in the final. I got to take Sabalenka this time around.
Okay. So you're going to go against the books because I'm sure the books will have.
It's going to be mighty close.
You sure? So I can see that. Okay, Joe. I'm with you.
Okay, man. We should.
Well, it's hard to say with Iga being out and everybody else that should be there is out. And who else are going to pick?
We could also have an upset.
Yeah, exactly.
In the semis.
Very easy.
Okay. Well, congratulations to U.S. skier Michaela Schifrin.
Mm-hmm.
She passed ex-teammate Lindsey Vonn. 83 World Cup wins.
And still going.
Yep. She needs 3 more to tie the great Ingemar Stenmark for the most all times.
Yeah, way to go. Way to go, Michaela.
Yep, she's amazing. And from the world of baseball, quickly, Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon, our contributor, loves to talk about the women who are being part of the game now. Ronnie Gajonik is going to be the manager of Arizona High A affiliate Hillsboro Hops. Ashley Stevenson will be coaching at Toronto's High A Vancouver.
Okay.
So good for those ladies. They're getting integrated into the professional game.
Exactly.
Some other notes. Kansas City signed Aroldis Chapman from the Yankees. He's a reliever. Duvall, the infielder outfielder, is on the Red Sox. He was on Atlanta last year. The Moreno family obviously changed their mind. They're not selling the Angels after all that trouble and whatever.
You think they had a problem finding a buyer?
Maybe so.
That's what I think. I don't know. I mean, it'd be hard to believe, but
yeah,
I would think they would have a hard time finding a buyer.
Okay. Well, they haven't been good in a long time. The Rally Monkey days.
Oh, I love that, Joe. I wish they'd bring that back. I'm not an Angels fan by no means, but I sure love that Rally Monkey. That was great.
It was a great year. San Francisco fans probably not too happy with the ending.
Not too happy with that one, with the Rally Monkey.
Yeah, that's no problem.
And sadly, speaking of sadly, Sal Bando died, the captain of the great Oakland A's teams. The A's, my favorite team. They won the Division 5 in a row, 71 to 75. They won the World Series 3 in a row, 72 to 74. He ended up being the general manager in Milwaukee after. In fact, he
spent some money.
Played for Milwaukee.
It was a year or two there.
As all the A's moved on to other places.
The Green Machine was something, though, weren't they, back in the 70s? And Sal Bando, third baseman, was great. So it was.
Do you want the A's to come to Vegas?
Yeah, because then they'll probably.
See, I think in the same
they can start getting some players again.
They won't spend no money right now, and it's really hurting the fan base. It's hurting everybody.
It is the lowest salary cap team is the Oakland A's right now.
They need to get to Vegas.
They gotta do something.
Yeah, they need to get out of Oakland. Period. Go to Hawaii. That'd even be better.
And they can talk about.
Would they change the name from the A's to the Aces, maybe? Something like that.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
I mean, just different.
That organization just needs to get out of there.
They talk. Oh man, the mayor talks all the time about. Oh, we're gonna get a new stadium.
Enough.
You can't believe it.
Yep.
They're not trying.
But it does cost you the most of beer.
That's ridiculous too.
It's the highest concessions.
It's all bad.
Get a $2 ticket, but you got to spend $12 for a beer. I mean,
last time I went there was Old Milwaukee, and nobody wants to drink Old Mud.
No.
But, hopefully they've improved. But anyway,
sorry, Joe.
I know. So now it's that time where we talk about our choices that seem to be winners. They look great, but at the end something went terribly wrong, and these picks ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
Okay, Joe. Well, Temple and Houston. Temple won 56 to 55, and Houston was a -20, Joe, in that game and a loss. Anyways, minus 4,000 on the money line. But it was tight 55 with 1:06 left. and Temple made a free throw to take the lead, but then Houston tried to make a three-point basket with Damian Dunn went for a layup that missed with 8 seconds left. Well, Houston had one chance left with 1.3 seconds left. Tremont Marks tip-in attempt fell short at the buzzer. And, of course, Temple won 56-55. But, Joe, the big news is that that was the first time since February 20th, 2001 that Temple beat a number one. And if you had Houston at any way, you got hosed.
Houston, anything with Houston on it was a loser. Even the minus 4,000.
That's ridiculous.
Way to go, Owls.
Oh, Temple was at a plus 1,450, by the way.
1450. Nice.
1450.
Those do happen.
Well, they did happen. Well, I'd have to say Dallas's Cowboys defense got hosed, I would say, just because how great they played. We predicted they would get on Brock, and Brock dropped his rocks and played great. And, they had every chance to win that game. Dallas 2 times in a row, they've ended the season on a drive in Dak's hands, and can't get it done. Fourth quarter, can't get it done, and then what do? They go for the spread them out and put Zeke as the center.
Yeah, that was strange. That was
Zeke got hosed on that. Why do I got to play center? Well, you can't run the ball. Go play
not
center.
on my contract.
It worked great in practice.
Anyway, if you had Dallas' defense, you got hosed. You played a great game.
Yeah, besides all those other things that I talked about earlier that happened during that and before that game.
There's other hose stories.
There are other stories, but I already went through all that. But for me, it was the Giants. I mean, they were losing 28-0 at halftime, and I have my zero theory that I always bet the team was 0 points because nobody ever finishes with 0 points in the NFL, right? So it's minus a half, or even if you had the over at the beginning, you might have got hosed
45,
too.
yeah,
Exactly.
28-7. It's 4th and 6 in the fourth quarter at the Philly 42. Brian Daboll says, "Let's punt the ball. You're down 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. What are you doing?"
And you want to give him the coach of the year.
Oh, no.
He just said he was tired of looking at his offense. Put the defense back on the field.
Unbelievable. Still, it's 31-7. I'm still covering the second half, 7-3. But Philly, they just hand the ball off, and the guy runs 30 yards down the sideline, scores a touchdown with 2 minutes left.
Man, what are you going to do, Joe?
38-7 final. I lose 10-7 the second half, and anybody who had the over lost by like a point also. I got those.
Yeah, that game was over before it started.
You got hosed.
So that's it for the show. I'd like to thank Big Richard Martin, Gator Yates, all our contributors, our editor, producer, and engineer Cornelius, and all you listeners out there. And next week, we look forward to bringing you another episode of Covering the Field.
And to remind you, next week we'll be at the world famous Why Not 5:30. Come down there, get a $2 football beer, and listen to the show. We'll have the speaker out. So we're looking forward to doing the show next week at the Why Not.
All
right.
That's great. Something to look forward to.
You've been listening to Covering the Field. Email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com for all your comments or questions. Find us on Twitter @CoveringField. And of course, always check out the website for our picks of the week and updated articles. CoveringTheField.com.